Welcome everyone to imaginativevisions.com. This is Into the Panel. I know it's been a minute since I reviewed a manga or a comic book, and I'm going to try to do that a little bit more often sporadically. And truthfully, I do so much at Imaginative Visions, and I'm just really gearing up for where my book remains gets released. So, but my main focus have been that. But today, there were a couple of mangas that I did get a review for. Thanks to NetGalley and big shout out to Condenser Comics and Viz Media. So I do have a couple of books in this medium that I will be reviewing. So today's first one is Smells Like Green Spirit by Saburo Nagai. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And Smells Like Green Spirit is a moving coming of age story about Futoshi Mishima, which is a middle school student who is gay, and they're growing up in a rural town where anyone who doesn't fit traditional expectations becomes a target. And Mishima secretly uses makeup and feminine clothing as a way to express himself. But his life changes when he discovers that Makoto, one of the boys who bullies him, is hiding similar interests. So, without spoiling the story, their unexpected connection becomes a safe space where they can question identity, attraction, gender expression, and what their future might look like. And Mishima was the emotional heart of the manga for me because beneath his distant appearance, you see a funny, sensitive teenager who's desperately wants to be accepted. Makoto, on the other hand, was more difficult to like at first, but underneath it, you see fear, confusion, and that hidden vulnerability about his identity, his sexuality, which makes it compelling. But you also have a character, Taro, who also grows beyond the role of this loud bully. And then you also have elements of the parents that add different perspectives on love, fear, and social expectations. And there are some darker adult material, disturbing even at points. So, just a trigger warning for those who might think about picking this up after the review. As you can see from the still images here of the actual manga, you are going to be dealing with topics such as homophobia, transphobic remarks. You're going to be getting topics such as SA and self deletion. So just keep that in mind. If those topics are too disturbing and too heavy or too sensitive for you, you might want to skip this particular book. But that being said, while those topics are discussed and shown through characters, actions, and words, it also has this theme of repression and isolation and how that can also be harmful. And you see that during one of the particular characters, which I'm not going to spoil who it is, but there's one particular character that is so repressed because he can't be himself. He is a gay man, he's a gay adult, and he's been repressing his homosexuality for his pretty much his entire life because his parents won't accept it. And he was forced to date girls, and he says it's just horrible for him. And unfortunately for him, his repression goes to a dark place where he starts to basically get it by any means necessary. If you know what I mean, let's just leave it at that for the sake of, keeping this video on YouTube. And that, honestly, for me, reading that, I was like, okay, you're bringing up this particular topic, but the way you're handling it was disturbing because the target audience, the targets that he's going for was very disturbing. But it's kind of like this particular character, the incident happens, and then the attempt happens and stuff like that. But then it's just like, oh, he was never seen again. It's just like, what? Wait, what? You can't, you just can't do that. And I would have to say that was probably one of the issues I had with it is that certain things are introduced, certain themes are explored, and especially the big theme of the difference between sexuality and gender expression. Enjoying makeup or feminine clothing doesn't automatically tell someone who they are attracted to or how they identify, things of that nature. And the other theme of being escapism, to escape. These characters dream about going to different cities, different countries where they might be accepted and just trying to be free to be who they are and free to who they love. And some people might find that also that the characters are too young to, have these type of discussions, and I'm not going to get into that, but just the subject matter of the age of certain these characters, because they're middle school age, some people might feel uncomfortable reading a child going through the motions of trying to discover who they are at that particular age. I will do have to say though that the artwork is really good. I did enjoy the close-ups of certain panel shots, recurring images of the mirror and lipstick. Locations such as mountains, empty roads, train tracks, abandoned buildings. I think make the town feel beautiful, but also goes back to that theme of suffocating and trying to escape. And I think that the artwork also supports that theme of identity, mask, acceptance, and escape. And I will have to also say this: one of my other gripes with the book is the tone and pacing can shift suddenly. One time it could be comedic, and then the next minute you're having a very deep, painful subject matter that's heavy, and then the next page is trying to lighten the tone really quickly after that particular scene has happened. It's kind of like you have to, if you're going to stick the landing and then let it spread out, let the audience feel, and then get to the comedy. But with all that being said, I found that Smells Like Green Spirit is emotionally powerful, it's visually expressive, and I think it's something that's going to stick with you once you reach to the end. It does have tone issues, like I said, patient issues, but I still strongly recommend it to readers looking for a more mature coming of age story about identity, acceptance, and the courage to imagine a different future. And with that being said, I'm going to give it our final score. Thanks to our shelf score here, I'm going to give it a full shelf. Definitely check this out. It's excellent. It has some memorable moments with some minor flaws, so definitely check this out. This is Justin from imaginativevisions.com. For the full written and more detailed review, the link is in the description. Head over to imaginativevisions.com. I will catch you on the next one. This has been Into the Panel. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And don't forget also, shameless plugging time, my first novel, Relight Remains, will be released on Amazon through Kindle and print on August 5th. And then the Audible will be released later August 21st. So stay tuned for that later days.